Hey guys, welcome back to DCS World. I'm Spudknocker, as always, and today we're going to take a look at employing rockets and cluster munitions in the F-18C. With Update 7 to the DCS World Open Beta, it's become a lot easier to employ cluster munitions, as well as a new way of employing rockets, which is much more accurate than the old ripple fire, as well as just simple single fire. So we'll take a look at that, and I think that'll give you better kinetic results on your target that you're engaging. You may also be thinking, Spud, what in the world is that skin that's on your F-18C right now? And I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. It's one of the most obscure operators of the Hornet in the whole world, really. In the 1997 timeframe, the Royal Malaysian Air Force bought 8 F-A-18D Hornets. They were some of the last Legacy Hornets to be produced, and there isn't much about them on the internet, other than the fact that they're used in the maritime interdiction and strike role, especially with their ability to carry AGM-84 harpoons, as well as they've been involved in dropping precision-guided munitions on various terrorist and rebel groups that have taken over or invaded Malaysian territory. You can actually see some photos of Malaysian Hornets with little laser-guided bombs painted underneath the canopy to signify bombs dropped in combat. So I wish that ED did make a Malaysian Air Force skin for the F-18C, even though that the Malaysians only fly F-18Ds. I think that's not as big of a stretch, or just the same amount of stretch as Australian F-18As, Canadian F-18As, these kinds of things. But thankfully, a user has kindly uploaded his skin to the ED user file sections, and now we can play with it. You also may be thinking, Spud, what's TUDM on the tail? And that is the RMAF acronym in the Malay language, is TUDM. So that simply just means Royal Malaysian Air Force. Now, most of the information I have been able to find on RMAF F-18Ds is from the Instagram account of a Royal Malaysian Air Force F-18 pilot. His Instagram is @Zuhari. I'll leave a link down below to it so you guys can check it out as well. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're back in the cockpit here, and we'll go ahead and the way we'll engage these targets, we've got a little truck park set out for us here on the Caucasus map, and we'll engage with our cluster munitions. We'll drop them, see what results we get, and then we'll mop up any survivors with our rockets. So we just want to simply go over to RET. RET is always going to be your CBU-99s or your Mark 20s. Right now we have CBU-99s loaded out. I think they tend to be a little bit more accurate, but I think that's just a personal bias of me simply missing with Mark 20s all the time. We'll go to mechanical fuse. PRI bursts the canisters very soon after they fall off the wings, so it's really good for a low altitude delivery, but for a medium to high altitude delivery, you're going to want to go to VT or variable timing. And once we hit VT, you can see HT popped up down here, and with the number 300. That means that the canister is going to burst at 300 feet and disperse from there. We can adjust that height all the way to 3,000 if you'd like. I tend to leave it between 700 and 1,200 for the most part. So we'll go ahead and put that on 900 for now and just kind of split the difference. The higher setting you put on there, the higher the canister will burst, obviously, and the bit greater dispersal you get of the bomblets. And that might not be so great if you're going after a more hardened target, say a BMP or a building, but it'll be fine if you're going after, say, a really soft target like aircraft on a ramp. So just keep that in mind as to the saturation of dispersion of the bomblets from the weapon. Of course, we want to leave that in CCIP. We'll leave that, come over here to quantity. We'll go ahead and release all 4 in one pass with an interval of, let's say, 150 feet to get a good dispersion over this truck park. And like I said, we'll go in and mop up any survivors with our rockets. Alrighty, so we'll go over to our EW page, make sure we're ready for any threats as we roll in on our target here. We're just on a training range at the moment, so we won't actually be shot at, but it's good to have good habits. We'll go into air-to-ground mode. We've got our CCIP set up. We will detach our autopilot, as well as our ATC. We'll do a little bit of flying around here so we can get a good beat on our target. I talked too much and we kind of flew directly over our target, but that's all right. So there's our target. You can see we do definitely have some wind, as denoted by our smoke marker. And we'll go ahead and turn our labels on so we can see our truck park a little bit easier on the video. We'll also tell our wingman here to give us a little bit of wind. I really like this skin. I think it's very cool because it's just such an obscure Hornet operator, as well as I like the darkness of it. Kind of makes it look like a mini Strike Eagle, I guess, if you could imagine that. So actually dropping the weapons on target is very similar to what you've been doing probably countless times with your Mark 80 series of weapons. Now, one thing you don't want to do is get below the height that you've set for the canisters to burst when you're delivering the weapons on target. So we're going to put our cross cube right in the middle of our truck park here. I'm hoping we'll get an accurate drop. However, canister munitions are very affected by the wind in terms of their accuracy, but we'll see what we get. We'll go ahead and pull out. You can see the canisters burst and effects on target. That was a really good drop. I kind of surprised myself there. Looks like we got at least 3, maybe 4 of those trucks. Or I could be fooling myself. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and go back over to our stores page and we'll get our rockets set up. So one thing you may notice differently here is we have 10S for Lao 10 single. So we're going to be firing a single rocket which with each press of the pickle button, rather than Lao 10Rs, which would be a ripple where the whole pod would fire in a ripple, kind of one after the other. I found this to be extremely inaccurate and rather wasteful in terms of rockets, and you'd have to kind of walk that stream of rockets across your target, whether it's a truck, a building, an aircraft on the ramp, whatever it is. Now you can of course engage with single rockets, but what I really prefer to do, and I think is the most effective way to employ rockets in any aircraft really, F5, the AV-8, not sure if Russian aircraft can do this so much, but any Western aircraft really, is to salvo your rockets in single fire mode. So that will mean we'll have one press of the pickle button and we have 4 rockets fire all at once. Kind of like firing 4 rifles at a target all at once. Like a big volley shot. And that'll be quite accurate as we have one point on our paper that we're firing all 4 rockets at, rather than a ripple, a stream of rockets that we're then trying to walk over our target. Alrighty. So we'll pick out one of these trucks to hit. So it looks like we probably killed 2 trucks. It looks like I got 2 fires out there. So we'll wait for our in-range cue. And as you can see, we just took out 2 trucks on that one pass, using a total of 8 rockets and 2 presses of our pickle button. This is an incredibly devastating tactic to use, especially with your Lao 10 rockets, as they're quite large, as well as quite accurate. And you can see that we did have to adjust for windage a little bit on that roll-in, as the rockets did curve a little bit from the wind. switchology for getting this kind of salvo of single file rockets is very simple, like I just showed you. We just simply press salvo on our stores page down here, rather than having it the single boxed. You'll notice if you're a veteran of flying the F5E, this is kind of the default way you would fire rockets in the F5, especially if you have all of your rocket pods turned on your weapon select panel. So we'll go ahead and roll in again. Why don't we go after these two guys right here in a line. Kind of pull back on the throttle, we're going a bit fast.
Altitude.
Oh, definitely missed on that path. That's all right. That's why we have a wingman. He can come in and mop up the rest of them. So like I said earlier, I'll go ahead and leave a link to Zuhari's Instagram account. Once again, he's a RMAF F-18D pilot, as well as a link to this skin. I think it's a really cool skin, and I wish that ED had it as a default, like I said, so that kind of an obscure Hornet operator could definitely be in the multiplayer servers on a regular basis. So, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and fly safe, guys. Have a good one.